The jungle was alive with strange sounds. The night air was heavy with mist, wrapping around the giant trees like ghosts. Every branch groaned, every insect cried. And the fire in the small camp was the only light fighting the darkness, the human. Soldier sat near the flames, his back against the log, his rifle close by. He had been traveling for days, his body tired, but his mind sharp. He knew this world was dangerous, and sleep could mean death. The forest around him seemed endless, with shadows moving in places where nothing should move. Behind him stood his tent, a simple shelter of canvas glowing faintly from a lantern inside. It was small, enough for one person, enough for survival. But tonight, he was not alone. From the edge of the clearing, she appeared, a tiny alien girl. Her steps light as if afraid to break the silence. Her ears twitched with every sound. Her glowing eyes reflecting the fire like gems. Her body was wrapped in thin tribal cloth, torn from battle or from travel, and the cold night air made her shiver. The soldier noticed her trembling. Her hands were pressed against her arms as she hugged herself. She tried to stay near the trees, away from the warmth of the fire, away from him. Her people had always taught her to fear humans, to see them as monsters, but the cold was stronger than her fear. And it pushed her closer, step by step. He looked at her, calm and steady. His voice was low, firm but gentle. "Come closer, you will freeze out there." She shook her head, her long hair moving like shadows in the firelight. Her voice was small, almost broken. "No, I stay here." The soldier frowned slightly. He could see the way her teeth chattered, the way her knees bent under the weight of the night chill. He knew she would not last long like this, so he stood slowly, his hand never leaving the rifle at his side, and he pointed toward the tent. "You can come inside. It is warmer, safer." Her eyes widened. She had heard stories of humans luring her kind into traps. She had been told kindness was only a mask before cruelty. Her tail wrapped tight around her legs as she took a step back. But then the wind blew colder, the mist growing thicker, and her body betrayed her fear with another violent shiver. The soldier did not move closer. He only turned back toward the fire. He sat again, letting the silence stretch between them. The flames cracked, the sparks rose, and the jungle around them whispered with the call of distant creatures. Finally, she took one step forward, then another, until she stood near the fire, her face half hidden by her hair. Her eyes flicked toward him, suspicious, searching for any sign of a lie. But he did not reach for her, did not force her. He only tossed another branch into the fire, the flames rising with new life. The heat touched her skin, and she gasped softly, as if the warmth was something she had never truly felt before. He looked at her once more. "You can stay by the fire, or you can come inside the tent. The choice is yours." She did not answer. Her hands stretched toward the flames, her fingers trembling, her body still shaking from cold and fear. For a long moment, she stood between two worlds, the dark forest behind her, full of shadows and danger, and the tent before her, glowing softly like a beacon of safety she did not trust. At last her small feet moved. She stepped closer to the tent, her eyes wide, her ears twitching, her tail low. The soldier opened the flap, letting the warm light spill out. Inside was simple, just a blanket, a bedroll, a lantern, and supplies, but to her, it looked like another world. She hesitated at the entrance, her breath fast. Her people would call her a fool for trusting, but the cold pressed harder, and her heart pulled her forward. She whispered something in her own tongue, a sound filled with doubt, and then she stepped inside. The soldier followed, closing the flap behind them. The mist and the night stayed outside, the jungle still howling in the distance. Inside, the air was warmer, the lantern light soft. She stood there, frozen, her eyes darting to every corner as if expecting chains or traps. But there was nothing, only the fire's echo and the human's steady presence. He sat down, unrolling the blanket, and placed it near her. "You are safe here," he said, his voice calm. Her body trembled again, but not only from cold this time, when his hand brushed hers by accident, she shook, her breath catching, her glowing eyes wide. No one had ever touched her gently before. She could not understand it. And that frightened her more than the jungle outside. The night deepened. The fire outside cracked, and the shadows pressed close to the tent. The human leaned back, watching her carefully. She wrapped the blanket around herself, her glowing eyes never leaving him, and in the silence of that cold night, something unseen began to grow between them. Not trust yet, not safety yet, but something fragile, trembling, and new. The cold night would not break her, but the warmth she felt inside this tent might. Asterisk inside the tent, the lantern glowed softly, making the shadows dance on the walls. The tiny alien girl sat close to the blanket, her wide glowing eyes fixed on the fire outside, as if even its warmth was dangerous. She had seen fire before, but never this near, never this safe. Her people used it only for war, burning villages and destroying fields, never for comfort. The soldier watched her carefully, his voice calm. Fire can protect, not only destroy, he said. She looked at him quickly, then away, her ears twitching, her tail curling tight. His words felt strange, like a language she was not taught to understand. He handed her a small piece of cloth, a thicker blanket. When their hands touched, even for a second, she trembled. Hard, pulling back as if burned. Her breath quickened, her eyes wide with confusion. Why did a simple touch feel more dangerous than any weapon? The soldier did not move closer. He only said, "You are safe here." But safety was a word she had never truly known, and that frightened her more than the cold outside. Night grew deeper, and the jungle outside the tent sang with strange voices. Creatures called from the trees, their cries sharp and haunting, and the mist pressed against the canvas like cold hands. Inside, the lantern glowed softly, but the silence between the human soldier and the tiny alien girl grew heavy. She sat with the blanket wrapped tight around her shoulders, her glowing eyes fixed on the ground. He watched her quietly, his rifle still close, his hand resting on his knee. Steady and patient, for a long time neither of them spoke. The fire outside cracked, the forest shifted, but inside the tent the air was still. At last she broke the silence with a whisper, her voice trembling. "You should not help me, human." The soldier tilted his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Why not?" he asked, his tone calm. She shook her head, her ears twitching, her tail curling tight around her legs. Her hands gripped the blanket as if it were the only thing keeping her alive. Her voice came again, broken and filled with fear. "My people. They will kill me, and they will kill you too." The soldier frowned, leaning forward slightly. "Why would they kill you?" he asked, his voice firm but steady. She looked up at him for the first time, her glowing eyes shining with fear and sadness. "Because I am not like them," she said, her voice cracking, her breath quickened, and her body trembled as she tried to explain. She had been raised in a warrior clan, trained from the moment she could walk. Her people did not allow weakness, they did not allow softness. Every day she fought, every day she bled, and every day she was reminded she was nothing but a weapon. Her teachers struck her when she slowed. Her commanders beat her when she failed. She had never felt kindness, never felt warmth, until tonight. Her eyes filled with tears, but she tried to hold them back. "They said I was born cursed," she whispered, her voice shaking. "They said I should have been killed as a child. But they kept me to fight, only to fight, never to live." Her shoulders shook under the blanket, and she lowered her head again. The soldier's jaw tightened, his eyes dark. He understood cruelty. He had seen it on battlefields, but hearing it from her lips made his chest feel heavy. "Why cursed?" he asked quietly. She took a long breath, her hands gripping the blanket tighter. "My blood is different," she said. "My family line is forbidden. My people fear it, but they also use it. They make me fight because of it too." Her voice broke into silence, as if she had already said too much. The soldier leaned closer, not with threat but with steady calm. "What does your blood mean?" he asked. She looked at him again, her glowing eyes wet, her lips trembling. "It means I am stronger, faster, but it also means they hate me, fear me. They think I will bring ruin to them." Her hands shook as she covered her face. "I do not want this blood. I only wanted to be normal. But they never let me, never." The soldier said nothing for a long moment. His eyes stayed on her, reading the pain in every line of her body. She had lived her life as a weapon, a tool, never a person. And now she sat in his tent, shivering not from the cold, but from the weight of her truth. Finally he spoke, his voice deep. "They call it cursed, but I call it survival." She lowered her hands slowly, her eyes wide with surprise. His words were simple, but they carried weight. No one had ever told her she was more than a curse. No one had ever seen her as anything but a weapon. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why do you say that?" The soldier leaned back, his gaze still, firm. "Because you are still alive, you have not broken. You are stronger than they wanted you to be, and they fear that strength." His words filled the tent like fire. Warm and steady, the alien girl's lips parted, but no words came. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her glowing eyes locked on him. She could not understand why a human, her enemy, spoke to her this way. Her hands trembled as she touched the blanket. "When you touched me before," she whispered. "I shook because no one has ever touched me like that. Not once." Her voice cracked again, but she forced herself to continue. "All I know is pain, chains, and orders. No one ever treated me like I was precious." Her last word broke in the air, soft as dust. The soldier did not move closer, but his voice was steady when he answered. "You are not a weapon to me," he said. "You are not cursed to me." The words hung heavy in the air. Her breath caught, her glowing eyes wide with something new. Fear still lived in her heart, but now it mixed with something else. Something she could not name outside. The jungle roared again, distant voices carrying through the mist. The soldier glanced toward the flap of the tent, his hand brushing his rifle. The alien girl looked at him, then at the fire's shadow. Her secret was no longer hidden. But now another danger grew closer, one that might not allow them to survive the night.